Jackie from RoseGoldLibrary, and it's so nice to see everyone here again. I'm very excited. I finally finished reading Gideon the Ninth, and a fun fact is that my friends actually recommended me this book, and it was kind of like a fun read, I will admit, but I won't lie, I did get some confusion at some parts. Mainly because sci-fi fantasies are typically not the type of books that I usually read, even though I have read a couple of them in the past. Would I say that I enjoyed Gideon the Ninth? Yes. And would I recommend it? Yes. But this is just me making my little journals for it, because I really want to actually record what I've been physically reading and books this year. And fun fact, I didn't really know it was a part of a series before I got this book. One of my friends and I went to a Barnes & Noble and we got this book, and they recommended it to me and I read it, and I didn't get to read it until really recently. And honestly, I would say that there's certain parts of this book where I felt that I did not know how to respond to. Well, starting off with like the positives, I will say Gideon the Ninth is very witty and very action-based. So there are some parts of it where I was completely drawn in with the storyline and with all the action, all the sword fights basically. But for me, there were a good part where I didn't really understand kind of like the world building. The world building, I would say, kind of like getting into it, the world building itself was its strength and weakness at the same time. I will say that at one point it was kind of like a political drama, since in the book there are different houses that there are all 9 different houses that are all fighting essentially to be by the Emperor's side. That is like a giant simplification of what's going on in the book, but it's just kind of all of the political drama that goes along with it. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Did I get very lost in it? Yes. I will say, at least with this copy that I have, because I'm not sure it's available for all other copies, that there are guides and such as like for names and like what the houses do, in all different types of little like word significance regarding in the books. But I will say that it was like reading it once, like just breezing through, I was engrossed in it. Like I genuinely was into like the book, but there were times where I had to reread it where I just didn't understand. I will say that I feel like I've been saying that a lot, but when I'm reading books, my main concern is that usually when it comes to like leisure books, reading for fun, am I being entertained? And sometimes, like, do I understand what's going on? But I am still having fun. That's like entertainment. But there are moments, I mean, talking about like the downsides, is that there are like downsides, but also like one of the main key points, at least why my friend enjoyed reading this book, is that there are a lot of complicated relationships. And at least for me, while reading this, there are a lot of complicated relationships within the book that are both positive and negative. Because I'm trying my best to not spoil this book. But regarding like complicated relationships, I would say that, at least for me, how I understood it, it's very classic, you know, like typical medieval scandal and like inter-noble type of drama. But I will say that when you get in, because like this book is definitely a like gothic space, and some of my favorite quotes were talking about Gideon, who is the swordswoman for Harrowhawk, one of the main characters. Someone asked Gideon, and I quote, "Ninth, how big are your biceps?" While like on page 175, while the entirety of what's going on, it's just in mystery, everyone's distrustful, and then you just get this line and I'm just cracking up. And just kind of having a lot of mystery that's going on. I have a love-hate relationship with mysteries because I love figuring things out, but I also don't like being left in the dark. So that was a win-lose for me, essentially. But overall, I think that Gideon, I definitely want to see more of Gideon. And I gave this essentially 3.5 out of 5. Mainly because would I read like the next series? Maybe. Like the next part of the series called the Locked Tomb series. But there's something about it where it's a maybe, not a definitive yes. But it's mainly like what I've been talking about, that I think mainly because I generally don't do sci-fi. I don't really have the capacity to understand it that much, and all of the little political-esque drama that's going on requires a lot of recognition, rereading, in terms of like dissecting all of the interactions. But it was fun overall. And recommending to another person, I would definitely recommend to someone who definitely does enjoy this type of genre. It's like amazing. And maybe as like a general, like not a good book that I read, because it is, the main character is like a lesbian, and that's a very cool thing to see. And also just like Gideon's lines are always so funny. And also, the right word is to say kind of crude. I think that's one of the words to describe Gideon. Gideon, as a character, it's so fun to see because Gideon and Harrowhawk are literally enemies to lovers. I will keep my own personal thoughts on that off record, but it was something that unfolded within the book. I do know like there's a lot of people, even my friend included, were just kind of like reading this book and saying like, I think for me, Gideon has essentially the only goal is like to get out, and honestly me too, like based on the description of their life. But overall, it's definitely full of, it's full of fantasy. Some of the words I know there are real words, but like the way that the author made them seemed like so out of like otherworldly, and I think that's like the power of writing, because in the 448 pages that I read, every single word in here was essentially like tailored to this book. And also like the little illustrations, I didn't show here, but like within the book, within the 9 houses, there's like in the beginning there's a page that describes the houses and overall kind of little like details. I tried to describe it to someone about it when I was at work while I was interpreting this. Essentially, it's very the only way to describe it to them like was like Game of Thrones-ish. And no, I haven't even seen the show or like know the show personally, just through pop culture osmosis. Like that is the one way to describe like all the drama. It was a lot of drama, and honestly I would love to see this unfold in a show, because I think it would be interesting to see it like be on screen, since there's a lot of books that are now turning into like film and movie adaptations. And I think Gideon the Ninth, at the very least like the first book of the series, would be absolutely a giant comedy to see. Well, I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching and hearing me discuss about this book. I will say, like in the little drawings right here, those were last minute. I tried to do Gideon's aviator glasses and Hurlhawk. I couldn't draw bones, so I tried to do a little book. But thank you everyone, and I hope you like and subscribe.